What is up, people? Hello. Happy Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. A beautiful, once again, Tuesday afternoon. I swear to God, every time I do the show, I don't want to jinx it, but it's like a beautiful last day outside. I appreciate everybody for coming, stopping by. We got a big show. Very excited for this show. Very excited. Overly excited. We're interviewing Mike Walter today. I am interviewing Mike Walter. I'm a one-man team over here. He's going to be on in a little bit. Very excited about that. Also, lots to talk to you about. You know, we had a product come out. I want to talk to you guys about some music to add to your crates. All the things, all the good stuff, people. I got a lot to go over. And let's talk about my weekend. I mean, I had a crazy weekend. I had 4 events this weekend, and I'm dead. It was quite the weekend. I'll show you. I'll give you a visual. So if you're watching the video. So I had a prom on Thursday right there in Glassboro, 20 minutes away, piece of cake. Then I drove all the way up to North Jersey, Bear Brook Valley, great wedding, right? Friday night. Drove all the way back, no stops at Wawa. Then I drove all the way up to Clark's Landing. That was towards the shore, right? So wedding on Saturday, fantastic time. Drove all the way back. Then drove all the way up to a place called Liberty House, which is literally right across the river from New York City, which is a cool spot. And that was on Sunday. And I made my way back. Sunday I worked with Bobby. I helped him out, but then the other stuff was all my events. It was a great time. Great time in general. I learned a lot. Had my first prom. I know I was on this show, bitching about proms and all worried about it for a while, and I experienced it, and it wasn't what I was expecting at all. Listen. I prepared my ass off for this prom. When I say I had so much fire, so much shit. I had Beat Source on lock too, just in case I needed to look some stuff up that I didn't have, in case they hit me with like a curveball. But man, I stacked my crates, dinner, dancing, everything. I was ready to go. I was ready to rip this prom. I was pumped, right? And it was going to be smaller. I do this prom every year. Typically, it's like 300 kids. This year, it was 96. I guess they only invited the senior class or something. They couldn't bring dates. I don't know, whatever the rules were. But it was way smaller and it was at a different venue. And but regardless, I'm ready, right? I'm ready to rock this shit, right? So I mosey on over to the venue. Me and Santi get there pretty early. We go to set up and everything. And it's in this big-ass tent in the back. Big-ass tent. Like, big-ass tent, right? Look, I got a little thing. This is basically where I was at. So you can see my setup there. Like that's it. You can have a vaccine clinic in this tent. Like this thing was huge, right? For 96 kids. So that was already bad. Not happy about that at all. That was going to be rough. But luckily for me, they had shit all over the dance floor. And it was crazy. When you walked in, you basically, they had lawn games, frisbee, whatever, throw can jam or whatever it's called, cornhole, long games I never even heard of. It's basically just drinking games outside. That's all it was. And then inside they had there was a table next to me with Jenga. So I'm DJing and every once in a while they knock it down. I got to jump like 10 feet. I don't know. They had all these games. They didn't want kids to gather. They didn't want them to get close or whatever. I was told, I got an email the day before saying, hey, listen, don't play any slow songs because we don't want anybody to slow dance because that's too close or whatever. I'm like, all right, great. So the first hour was their promenade. They had it there, which is, if you don't know what that is basically when all the kids take pictures and shit. So I was playing music and they're like, yo, can you keep it down because we're streaming it to Facebook and we don't want to get kicked off Facebook. I'm like, bitch, you're way out there. All right, whatever. So I literally, at this point, I just put a mix on and just kept it low, right? Just chill. Which I rarely use mixes, but what am I going to do? There's nobody in there, right? Then the actual thing starts. They come in and they're all super well behaved, just sitting at their seats, and I'm just playing music. And it was kind of weird because I didn't know what to, you know what I mean? It's I can't just drop a banger. You're technically not allowed to dance them. They're seated, so whatever. I just chilled through dinner and whatnot. They had a whole big table. If you see in the picture there's a whole big table. If you look over here, not the first table that's next to me that has the sashes and the crowns and all that shit, but in front of that there's this huge table full of all these prizes, right? So they're giving away prizes. Just because you bought a prom ticket, you get entered to do these prizes or whatever. And they were giving away waffle makers and Google Homes, and I think there was a record player there, which was kind of cool. But it was random George Foreman grills. They had George Foreman grills. What are you gonna do with that? Like, what, I guess because they're going to college, they're getting, that's what the thoughts, I don't know. The prizes were lame. Regardless, they had to do something, right? So that's cool. They did that for the kids. So right after dinner, they're like, all right, we got to give away all these prizes. They had like a prize for everybody. I think like some people got more than one prize. That's how many prizes. There was over 100 prizes there, easily, right? So they want to start giving away the prizes. The teacher was too scared to announce it. I was like, I'll announce it. And they're like, no, we're going to get this kid up here. We have this, charismatic young man who wants to announce the prizes. I'm like, great. So he goes on, I give him the mic, and he's just yelling names out or whatever. And he gives away all the prizes. This takes a while. This takes like 40 minutes. So I'm literally just like, but I think I put on like an instrumental loop, and then that's it. When I got bored of that one, I put on another one, whatever. I'm just chilling. I literally want to die at this point. It just sucks. Then he gets done playing, giving away all the prizes, gave away less prize. The kid comes back, gives me a mic, and he's like, hey, man. And he gives me a golden tip. He's like, hey, man, listen, there's this kid in our high school, right? There's this kid in our high school that can dance like Michael Jackson. Exactly. Oh, he's got all the Michael Jackson moves, Nick. If you played Michael Jackson, this kid will come right out, and he's going to start busting a move, and it's crazy, dude. He does the slides and the spins and all that. Like, dude, I'm telling you, bro. I'm like, all right, cool. Thank you for that, right? So I put my mic in. So typically at a prom, I'm not going to play Michael Jackson. That's a terrible idea all around, right? I don't want to get, you play Michael Jackson, and everybody's going to be like, what are you loser? Right? But I took the kid's advice. So I took the kid's advice, and I ended up playing Michael Jackson. I played Billie Jean because what else do I have to lose? Okay. I mean, I'm at this point, am I ever going to dance? And by the way, we had like 30 minutes left of this prom at this point, right? The whole thing's gone. It's gone. It's done, right? I'm ready to get out of there. Play Michael Jackson, play Billie Jean, right? Drop the beat, whatever, The kid comes right out, pops right out of his seat. Like I was looking, where's this kid at, right? 2 seconds later, just bloop, pops right out. And literally moonwalks to the center, like right in front of where the prizes were. Like literally just moonwalks there and starts doing all his Michael Jackson. And it's like all the kids knew too. So he started doing all his Michael Jackson moves, and all the kids gather around like a movie. It was like a movie. Like they literally gathered around, were cheering them all. Woo! Like one of those high school movies you'd watch, and the main character, faces his fear or something, and then the whole class is there cheering him on, and it was literally like a movie. Like I've never seen anything like it. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe. And he wasn't even that great, honestly. He was, he could do the spin all right, but his moonwalk needed work. Anyway, that's here nor there. Regardless, they all gathered around, right? So now I had everybody in one place, right where I wanted them. Right where I wanted them. They're all in one place. Not on the dance floor. We didn't have a dance floor, but they were all gathered around right there by the table, like in one group. So I was like, bet, let me, so I mixed out of Michael Jackson. I went into, I forget what I played, but like, I went into, regular rap. I think I played The Box or something. I just started hitting the bangers. Like, this is my shot, right? I played about 3 bangers in a row, and they started dancing, and they all danced for a solid, 10 minutes, right? 3 or 4 bangers in a row, 10 minutes. And then the principal comes up, he's like, all right, man, well, you're probably good. We're probably going to wrap this up pretty soon. And I'm like, well, we still got like 10 minutes left. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's cool. And he handed me a tip. He tipped me $100 cash. I was like, all right, bet. And then it's like he paid me off to end early. He's like, all right, you're doing a good, it's cool. They're dancing, but here's $100. Just, shut the fuck up. So, and that was it. That was like the whole prom. I planned all this music. I did all this work, all this preparation for what? For a 2-minute dance set. And I was background music the whole other way. Ugh, it was awful. But then went back to regular, right? Had weddings this weekend, had a wedding on Friday. That was a great time. Then I had a wedding on Saturday, and I learned a lot at that wedding. A lot. We've been talking a lot on the show. If you're new here, if you go back to other episodes and stuff, we talk a lot about, especially last week, I had Santi on, and we talked about trap music. And, I said, Santi is always in my ear. He's my assistant. He's younger. He's 25, and he's always in my ear. Like, yo, like, I want you to, I want you. You got to play more trap music, bro. Like, you got to get dialed in, man. You got to, like, you should play more. It'll work, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. So finally, I had this wedding on Saturday. It wouldn't have worked on Friday, really. But I had this wedding on Saturday, and it was a super young crowd. Like, it was, like, more than 75% young. The couple was in their mid-20s, right? And I'm like, all right. Here goes, this is this. If I'm going to try this out, if I'm going to really go into some trap, you know what I mean? If I'm going to do this experiment, quote unquote experiment, this is the wedding. And I did it. I'm going to show you everything I played too. I'm going to show you like my track list and all that in a second. And, but it was insane. Like I had an epiphany because it not only worked, right? it not only worked, the wedding was great. It was a good crowd too, don't get me wrong, but like, yeah, they raged. It was a great wedding, but it not only worked, I haven't gotten this many compliments or handed out this many cards in a long time. Like I had people from the venue coming up to me like, "Oh, this is the best music I hear every weekend. This is crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." I had older people. I had this one older lady come up to me and said, "You are killing it tonight. Can I have a card? My daughter's getting married." And I'm like, "Wow!" And I'm playing like trap. I'm playing like hip hop, right? You know what I mean? Like Meek Mill and shit. I'm like, what? And then obviously the bride and groomer hat, everybody just coming up. I don't know. It was insane. The energy, the vibe was insane. It was like the missing link. Like I don't know. I was bugging. I'm like, oh my God. And then I had to tell Santi he was right afterwards. Oh, it was brutal. I'm like, yo, Santi, I got to admit, man, you were onto something. You're onto something. Like it was, I can't explain what a difference it made. Like it really, really did. Like, check this. I even got a little review from the couple, not a review, but like she sent me this email afterwards, right? Literally, look, I need some music for this. Nick, we truly cannot thank you enough. You are absolutely phenomenal. I had guests at the wedding complimenting you, saying I have never danced this much at a wedding. He's playing all the right stuff, and it goes on and on. It's Monday, and my phone is still blowing up about how awesome the DJ was. My mom and dad just keep raving about how much they love you. We have truly been so blessed to, been able to work with you since 2018 when we started this wedding journey. Thank you for being so phenomenal during COVID. Even when everything was so uncertain, you kept us calm and positive. Thank you for keeping the dance floor packed all night. Thank you for giving Justin and I the night of our dreams. And you have no idea how much we appreciate you. Oh, beautiful, beautiful words. I gotta admit, I never, Now, I'm not over here. I'm not trying to whatever, read my reviews and, oh, look how great I am, whatever. But the point is I took risks at this wedding, right? I didn't do like my normal, not that I play the same stuff every wedding, but like, we all have our systems or whatever. I took risks at this shit. Like I took risks. There was several songs I played at this wedding where I was like, I hope this works. You know what I mean? Like, a little worried, but we'll see what happens type stuff. And it worked out. It really did work out. So this is my first trap set. This is what I did, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this shit. So I started with Shout. This is like my history from that night, so you can see it. I started with Shout, played Let's Get Loud because it was a request, and then played Rock This Party. It was like same kind of thing. Played Vivir. It's like there's a big-ass drop, kind of melts everybody's faces off, right? Vivir Mi Vida, Fogo. Then I played Shut Up and Dance because it was a request. I actually hate that song. And then at that point, I'm like, all right, it's time. They're on the dance floor. They're there. I looked at the whole dance floor, right? I looked at them all. I'm like, all right, well, they're all pretty young. They're all, pretty much all young. This is it, Nick, now or never. So I'm like, all right. So I started slow. I Like It by Cardi B, right? Started slow. Not a trap song, but, newer, last few years. Okay, it's a bop, and it's like 130 something, right? Because it's where I wanted to go. After that, went into No Hands. It went off. Like, it went absolutely off. It was insane. No Hands hit, just like, I'm like, all right, well, now what? Shit. So I'm like, all right, well, it works. So let me keep it moving. So I played basic shit. I was like, all right, Trap Queen, Walk It Out. I do this like wordplay thing. So I go like Walk It Out for like just the chorus, and then I go into Walk It Talk It by Migos, right? Then I went into Dance. And the dance, whatever, like, that, not the, the unedited version, whatever. But, so I went into that. And then from there, I chickened out and I went back to I Want You Back. Cause like, I want to, keep it moving. I don't want to do all trap, you got to keep it moving. That's how weddings work. But, that was my out, right? I just dropped I Want You Back, and then bam, it, exploded again. We kept it moving, and I actually went into more hip hop after that. Another hip hop set I did, right, was I started with Jump Around. Let Me Clear My Throat, right? Bring them out, basic stuff. But then I went into Uproar and Freaky Friday, two songs I rarely play. Then I went into Dreams and Nightmares. Big risk. I had no idea if they're going to know this. They didn't request this, nothing, right? And I have this this edit, shout out to Spindiana Jones, where it's like skip the fire. So essentially, in the beginning, it's like, hold up, wait a minute, hold up, right? And it does it like, for like 4 bars. And then it drops, hold up, wait a minute, you thought, and it drops into like the Meek Mill song, right? And I dropped it there, right? I just scratched it in. And every time it went, hold up, the whole crowd went, wait a minute. So I'm like, I'm cutting out. I'm like, oh my God, it's working. Because I'm cutting it out. I'm like, oh my God, they're saying it, right? I've never done this on a wedding. So I'm freaking out, right? I'm like, God, and I already had backup plan too. I forget what it was. I think I was going to play like something bit like Yeah by Usher or something if it didn't work. Anyway. So they're yelling it. Then it goes into Meek Mill. The whole dance floor explodes. And they're singing every damn word. And this song's like a little longer. So I guess you got to really know your crowd, this sort of thing. But like, it worked out. Afterwards, then I went and their last song was Can't Stop Me, and then I went into that slow song. So, like, afterwards, I went right into hotel room service and went into 128 because of their last song. But, like, I don't know. It just went off. It went off. It's insane. We need to play more trap at weddings, people. We need to, like, I am going to do extensive studying, and as I find stuff, I'll share it with you guys every week of the show. We do this every week, Tuesday at noon. But as I find shit, I'll let you guys know, and I'll share it with you. But I'm going to do some extensive research of, like, 2010, 2014, like, in between those years, because I think that's, like, the golden years right now with these 25, 20-something-year-old couples. Relive. I was DJing then, so, I can really, oh, yeah, this was banger, like, trying to remember a lot of stuff from there, look at hip-hop from there. I really want to start incorporating newer stuff in my sets, and like I don't know, from the reactions I got and from people, like I don't think a lot of DJs do this. I really truly believe it's very rare for wedding DJs. If you ask around or ask yourself, do you play trap music? Do you guys play do you guys go into the 70s and the 130s? Like that type of like hip hop. Like, do you do it? I think it's very, very rare, and I think it's just becoming increasingly like more and more. It's going to work. I mean, the tides have changed. You know what I mean? The couples stay the same age, no matter how old we get. They're 21 to 35. And we're approaching this next decade, and I just think it's extremely, extremely. It's important we evolve. And I think this is a big way because a lot of DJs are scared to do this, or most DJs don't like trap music in general. It's a big way to set yourself apart. And I started asking couples during my finals meetings. I had 2 yesterday, and I asked them both. I was like, hey, how do you feel about, I usually ask about EDM, but I started asking, like, how do you feel about new hip hop? How do you feel if I play new hip hop at your wedding? And they're like, well, what do you, the one was like, what do you mean by new hip hop? And I'm like, well, like, not like, gangsta shit, but like, like Drake, Waka Flocka, like things like that, like newer hip hop. And they're like, oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, hell yeah, drop that shit. Both of them said, no problem. Yeah, definitely drop it. I'm like, oh, wow. So I'm going to keep this shit moving. And my personal plan, like I said, I'm going to go through 2010 to 2014-ish and kind of like relive all those years and figure out like what songs I want to add to my list. On top of that, too, I want to develop ways to get in and out. Like, I don't know how you guys think about mixing or how you do stuff, but with me personally, if I'm going to play something I'm not super comfortable with, right? Or, like for me to be comfortable playing trap, right? And just do it in and out, no problem. I need to have ways in and ways out. So a way in would be like that edit, right? The hold up, wait a minute. A way in is like I can drop it at any point. I can take a huge left turn. I could just just literally just U-turn it and go into it. Like I need ways in. Before ways in would be like, all I do is win is a way in. But to me, like that song just doesn't work anymore. I cannot get people to rage to that song anymore for some reason. It just, every time I play it, it's just like, that and shout is just anymore. But I need to develop ways in and then ways out, songs to get out, mixes, everything. And then I can fill in the blanks. If I have a way in, then now I can, in the middle, do some trap, until, it doesn't work anymore, until I want to change it up and keep it moving. And then I have a way out. So I can kind of sandwich the ways in with the ways out. And if I have multiple ways in, multiple ways out, I'm going to feel 100% comfortable going in and out of this stuff and incorporating it. And, yeah, I mean, I just think it's the future. So if you haven't yet, with that being said, let's go to songs, people. This is, I'm going to give you 5 songs. You just saw it on the history, and I'm going to give you reasons. 5 songs you need to add to your wedding crates. These are all dancing songs. These are all songs I played this weekend. They worked phenomenal. And yeah, add them. So number 1, Uproar. This song, I love Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is one of my top 3 favorite rappers of all time. A big fan of him. I used to play Uproar all the time at clubs, but never at a wedding. I'm like, oh, what the fuck though? Where the love though? You know what I mean? I'm like, it's a little rough for a wedding. I can't play that, and I don't play it. I play it, edited, of course. So like it cuts that part out. But man, it goes off. It's like the next Get Low or something. Like it's legit. Like I'm telling you, play it. It will work. If you have a younger crowd, it will work. 100%. So add that. Next one, No Hands by Waka Flocka. That was like my first trap song I played, and it went off. This is from 2010. I believe it came out. So the song's 10 years old, 11 years old, but it was super popular when it came out. We played it all the time. And it will absolutely, like, this is like a great anchor song, you know? Play this. If it works, you know you can get in a trap. You know, if this doesn't work, then, like, I want to do any of the trap stuff because this is like a staple to me. This is the YMCA of trap music, right? Other than like a Drake track or whatever. Next is Dreams and Nightmares. Another one, you know, like I said, I dropped it. You got to know your crowd. It's a long, like the part, like I drop it. I don't drop it from the beginning. Digital Dave, like, bust my balls because he said, you know, he always drops it from the beginning. Like, how could you not drop that song from the very beginning and play the whole thing through? But, like, the whole song is, like, 19 minutes long. And it's just a lot. It's just a lot of, like, you know, it's just a lot. So, for me, I'd rather just do it, hold up, wait a minute part, right, and goes out. I think it's, like, a 2-minute rap. So, that is a little long. And this is a song you can't mix out of. Like, this is, like, it's like Paradise by the Dashboard Light, or I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? You can't mix out of this shit. Like, once you drop it, it's a commitment. You got to play that shit to the end because it won't sound right if you mix it out. And, you know, there's no chorus. It's just him just spitting bars, right? So definitely, you know, know that it's a commitment, know your crowd. But if it's a younger crowd, this song is so huge. This song is so huge, especially in my area. If you're in Jersey, Philly, I mean, obviously you're going to know that. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. Drop it. It will work. Song number 4. Dance by Big Sean. Mentioned it earlier. Another one. Never play this at weddings. I got the Nicki Minaj remix too. I love that because then you can like loop the e or whatever she says and then kind of like, you know, use that to kind of, because you basically loop the E part and you have it going. So E, and then you can drop, because it's just E, there's no beat to it. You can drop any song you want, you know, you can literally just drop in 95 BPM, 100 BPM, 128 BPM. It's a great way to get, this is going to be one of my ways out. I can play this, do the Nicki Minaj part, loop her E, and then I can go anywhere. I can literally go anywhere, and I'll just like transform E as I drop the next beat, and boom. But even if you don't scratch or anything, you know, you could just put E, like just loop the E and play a beat over top of it, and it'll work great. So it's a great way to kind of like get out and move to another BPM or whatever. The song itself was a hit. I think it came out in 2012, 2013. Everybody knows it. And again, it's one of those songs I just played at clubs all the time, and I never thought to play it at a wedding. I just didn't think it was wedding-esque music. But, man, did that go off as well. And when I say go off, I don't mean just the kids dance to all these songs and then, like, the parents sat down. Like, no, I'm talking, like, the older people dance as well. The older people are, like, you know what I mean? Like, some of them recognize the music, and you know how, like, older people feel real cool when they, like, recognize a song, like, or, you know, you get that really proud Aunt Beth that comes up to you and is like, oh, I would like to hear Calle Ocho by Pitbull, and she is so proud of herself for knowing that song. Like, you know what I mean? You can tell she's beaming with pride because she knows this song. You know, so she requests it with such conviction. You know, I would like to hear Calle Ocho by Pitbull, and then might throw in another one. You know, and you could just see anyway. So they knew a lot of this stuff, and they were dancing to it. The only one I would say maybe they're not, like, you know, they weren't like singing every word to was like the Meek Mill, but, you know, other than that, like, literally, it's working for the entire crowd, not just the young people. And then the final song I would add is Freaky Friday. This is a newer one from 4 years ago, I think it came out, something like that. It was a hit when it came out. I played it at every Sweet 16, every prom wanted to hear it, every, like, club, bar, like, I played it everywhere when it came out, except for weddings. Because, again, I don't know why. I guess I'm stupid. There's so much crossover. It's, like, insane nowadays. Like, I'm literally sleeping on this. So, TBD, people. I got a lot. I'm gonna do my research, and I'm going to fill you guys in. But regardless, this worked great this weekend as well. It's a catchy, fun little song. And yeah, add it to your crates. Start playing these songs, people. Start retiring the played out shit. Start retiring your Uptown Funks. Start retiring, you know, your Yeah by Usher and all that. Like, it's hard, but like, because I don't want to retire it either. I don't, but like, it's just, it's working less and less. Shout is working less and less. I'm telling you, I can't remember the last time I got a crazy reaction from Shout. And you could say, all right, you can go ahead and tell me and basically, oh, Nick, you don't understand. Like, you know, Shout, I always play it. Everyone dances. Ask yourself, do they dance to it, right? Yeah. All right, everyone dances during Shout. But do you get that same reaction that you did years ago, right? Remember playing Shout? Shout was the peak. Shout was the it. When you played Shout, that was the shit. People raged. Shout was the song where, like, you didn't have a lot of people on the dance floor. Fuck it, let's play Shout. And then everyone came up and came out on the dance floor. You know what I mean? That was that song. It was amazing. Like the reaction was crazy. And I guess it got famous with, we'll ask Mike like all about like history stuff and whatnot. He's going to be on a little bit, but like, I'm assuming it got famous with what's the John Belushi movie? Oh my God. John Belushi. It was, not Roadhouse. Oh my God. Why can't I think of the name of this movie? Regardless, there was a movie. He had that college life shirt on, and they did the shout. Oh my God, why can't I think it's going to bother me? I'll ask Mike when he gets home. Anyway, so I think it got popular from there, and then people have been playing it like ever since and whatnot. I think, but like it's fading out. People, it's fading out. I don't get the same reaction. Do people dance? Yes. Okay. Do people do the shout thing and everything and like hey and all that stuff? Yes. People still do it, but it's not the same, and I'm identifying that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just think to yourself, are you getting the same reaction for these songs? Same thing with All I Do Is Win. You know, it used to be the shit. All I do is win. Hands up. Oh, my God, so hype. It was a great, not anymore. Not anymore. I'm not getting the same reaction anymore. Someone said Animal House. That's the name of the movie. Animal House for shout. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. I'm not getting the same reaction anymore, So like, it's just, the couples are getting, we're jumping a generation gap right now. I think every like 10 years or so, our couples dive into a new generation and shit changes. So I don't know. Add those songs, people. Look for more. And as I find them, I'm going to share it with you guys. Things are changing. Trap is, I haven't gotten that many compliments at a wedding. I can't tell you. Like, it's insane. So I don't know. Now I want to see how far I can push this shit. So I'll let you know. Couple things too. Can I give you a tip? So this is Billy Joel, right? My man, Billy Joel. Love me some Billy Joel. You know, that guy had like a piano-shaped house in New Jersey. He famously had a house that was shaped like a grand piano in New Jersey. Talk about fuck you money. Talk about a little extra spend, Holy shit. Why I'm bringing him up is because I thought of this idea. And I don't know if any of you guys do this, but it came to me because I got a request for Piano Man. And my couple was like, listen, you got to play it at 9 o'clock at our wedding. Because it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. Get it? And I never put two and two together. I don't listen to words. I listen to the beat. I do not. I'm the worst with songs. Like, I do not listen to the words. I just listen to the music. It's just how my brain processes music. I guess because I mix and whatever. I don't know. But it's just I don't listen to words at all. So I set an alarm on my phone for 8:59 p.m. every Saturday. Every Saturday. If you're a DJ watching this, you're all DJs, I'm assuming. You need to do this. You need to do this because it doesn't always work out, obviously, but if you happen to be in dinner time on a Saturday night and it's 8:59 and notice the snooze is off, you don't snooze this alarm. This is not a snoozable alarm. You drop Piano Man. It's 9 o'clock. How relevant is that? I'm trying to think of a witty thing to say on the mic when I do it, so I point it out to people. You know what I mean? Because I'm proud of this. But like, set this alarm. Set an alarm. Android, iPhone, you can set an alarm for every Saturday. 8:59. All us wedding DJs should have this. This is like this is a prerequisite, I mean, I just think this is a no-brainer. It's just a random thing I thought. I don't know. And also, besides Billy Joel, Newmark came out with some things. Look at this. We got the Party Mix Live and the Party Mix 2. These things are adorable. Now, these don't matter to us, right? Because these are toys at the end of the day. They're toys. They got a built-in light show, right? The one to the left, the Live, has a built-in speaker, which I'm sure sounds fantastic. And the one to the right is just the same thing, only without the speaker. I think the Party Mix 2 is $130. The Party Mix Live is $180. So super affordable. Again, they're toys. They work with Serato Light or whatever, and they're not, they're not professional mixers by any means. But I'm really happy that they're doing this. I'm really happy like products like this are coming out because this is really, more and more like the barriers to becoming a DJ are just getting lower and lower. And I think that's good. Like, I think the more DJs, the better. I want so many kids to like this is something you can get for Christmas that Santa can leave under your tree, and it's not super expensive where the parents aren't going to buy it, or like they're not, we don't know if he's still going to be interested in DJing later, so like we're not going to spend, we're not going to invest in this big mixer for you. No, like it's, it's expensive-ish, for a Christmas present, but like, $130, or 180 with the speaker, and you got yourself a DJ setup, and it comes with the Serato light. So all you need is just a computer, and then if you sign up for BeatSource, you got all the music you ever wanted to, and now you can be a DJ. You can practice mixing. You can learn how to DJ, and I just think stuff like this, I gotta commend Newmark, even though I'm not a fan of Newmark stuff. I think they're all kind of poop, but I'm glad they're doing this because it's gonna allow more and more DJs to essentially become DJs, to get into it or try it out, see if they like it, at least be familiar with it. And that's another thing as well, because fast forward, or rewind back to the 80s, the 90s, right? When we all kind of grew up, we weren't getting no DJ. We weren't getting a mixer and two techniques for Christmas back then. All right. I don't know about you, but my parents weren't about to spend $1,500, $2,000 on me back then, and plus records and everything else. It was so hard to get started as a DJ. And so, we just had less DJs, nowadays it just makes it so easy. And I think it's something to think about as far as mixing and whatnot as well, because now more kids than ever will at least think about how many kids will get this for Christmas or get something like this for Christmas, right? And go through a DJ phase. Never become a DJ ever in their lives. Just become just go through a DJ phase, for a year, just they're a DJ for a year and they mix it up or whatever, and they grow out of it. They don't like it no more and they keep it moving, right? But they had that, oh yeah, I was a DJ. When I was 9, I DJ'd for a little while. I had a little mixer and it was fun and that's it. Just like you would get a guitar or something. Well, now all these people, maybe they don't become DJs for a living and they never do it again. But for that year, they studied DJing. They figured out okay, well, these songs can go together. They can be mixed. Now, because so many people are entering the market, the average person more than ever is going to kind of understand what we do, how mixing songs together and all that stuff. They're going to understand that that's a thing. And more than ever, people are going to be requesting that. Hey, do you mix? It used to be back in the day, you could get away with not mixing. You could get away with it. It wasn't expected. No one thought of it, right? But now every DJ everywhere mixes in clubs and bars and whatnot when these bride and grooms are growing up. Plus, if they had any DJ experience, right, from getting mixers like this, moving forward, if you don't mix, it is going to be insane. You will, I truly believe in the next 5 to 10 years, if you don't mix, if you don't know how to beat mix efficiently, you are going to have a very, very, very hard time getting business. 100%. It is going to be extremely difficult to you. So if you're watching this right now and you haven't started yet, I'm telling you, you got to get on it. And, my guest, Mike Walter, is one of the OGs with it, because it's my understanding he was actually teaching mixing back in the early 90s to star DJs. We're going to talk about all this, but he was teaching beat mixing back then, with literal records, teaching it back then. When you could argue back then, it was all about the interaction, line dances, the little different dances you did, and everything. It was all interaction back then. 100%. That was a wedding. So to learn the fact that he was beat mixing and then also was training other DJs. It just definitely way ahead of his time. For sure. But let's bring Mike on. I'm very excited. So real quick, I got a little introduction, and we're gonna bring Mike on here. I'm so pumped. I'm very excited about this. We got a lot to talk about. I'll stand up. So the moment you've been waiting for, people. Here we go. DJ since 1984, 37 years in the game. He was an original star DJ. We're going to talk about that. Owner of Elite Entertainment, author of several books, national educator, world traveler, and a frequent wearer of a scarf. Let's hear it for Mike Wall. I'm going to switch my headphones here, Mike. Hold on real quick. Can you hear me, brother?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect. Let me adjust your volumes.
Am I live?
Yep. I think you sound pretty good as well.
All right.
Cool. Thanks for coming on. And
Thanks for having me.
I got to admit, I was looking at, listening to podcasts and stuff like that, and you mentioned in one of them that your day off is Tuesday, and I know in our business the day offs are sacred, so I really appreciate you coming on the day off,
you
man.
got me off the beach early today, Nick.
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
I was on the beach earlier, and I said, I got to get home and get on Nick's show, but no, this is worth it. It was worth it.
Love it. Appreciate
And
you, brother.
2 minutes ago, I was screaming at my computer, Animal House, Animal House. Actually, look at your phone. I texted you. I was like, Animal House, dude.
Oh, there it is. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
Yeah. And by the way,
way,
the point you just made about the toys, I 100% agree with. When I interview new people nowadays, I'd say at least half of them have some kind of experience mixing music. They might have just they might not even have a controller, laptop only, but they're familiar with why DJs need two sources and going back and forth. So it's making all of our jobs easier. And I agree. I think the public appreciates more what we do nowadays.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's only going to get more and more, you know what I mean, as this technology comes out. Well, before we start, I got a lot to talk to you about, and so many things I want to ask you. But let's take care of the what you call it, the skeleton in the room, the commercials.
You want to start with this, okay?
So the background story, just so you know. So I asked you to come on my show. I'm like, all right, cool. And then, so now I'm doing my research and I'm listening to your, podcasts and whatnot and listening to different interviews. And it was the other night, about a week ago, I was smoking a joint, listening to one of your podcasts, and this commercial came on, and it's the one where it's DJ Event Planner. You're talking about, going to the beach and all that, and how you could do it with DJ. And I started laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh my God, like these are genius, right? These are so bad, they're good. And then I came up with this whole idea. I'm like, all right, well, you're coming on the show so you can like redeem yourself, You called it vicious and unprovoked attack.
Well, so here's my opportunity that I want to present to you. You clearly think you could do these better than me. So will you give me a live read and show me how I should do these? I wrote a script for you.
No, you didn't. Stop.
I did. I wrote a script for you. I am going to text it to you now.
No.
And I want to hear you read this live, first time ever. Don't pre-read it, just read it live. And do you have some kind? Because I know you were making fun of my beats too. Do you have some kind of beat you can throw underneath this?
Oh my God. I don't know if I have a beat. I think I deleted that beat, but
you gave me applause on the walk-in here. You got to have some kind of. Can't you just loop a 16 beat?
Shit. What did I do with that beat? All right. Oh, so you're trying to put me on the spot. I'll show you. Hold on. Let me find
I'm going to text this to you when you're ready, and I want you to read this spot for me. I didn't know you were going to start the show with this. I figured this might be deep in the show, but give me some music. Damn,
I got no beat right now. I don't think I have a beat.
How can Nick Spinelli not have a beat?
Listen, you can
read it dry, and then we'll throw a beat on underneath later.
All right, perfect. I'm ready. Text it over.
I'm texting it to you now.
I
want to
man,
hear Nick Spinelli's take on a DJ event planner.
Oh my God!
And
I can't. So you want me to read it like me or like you?
I want you to read it. I want you to educate me on how I should have been doing these ads. Go.
Oh my God! There's some shit in here. I know there is.
Good. It's good.
What's up, loyal viewer? Sorry to interrupt my own show. Actually, who am I kidding? You could use the break from me yelling at you because you dared to use a transition edit instead of doing it live, like God intended. But I'm here to tell you about the greatest innovation for the DJ industry since the invention of the drum machine, DJ Event Planner. This is the CRM system that everyone is using. In fact, Troy Ackerman. See, and there's my dyslexia. Troy Ackerman has achieved such incredible market saturation, it's amazing he's still paying for marketing. Of course, he probably doesn't even listen to these DJ shows. He's too busy hanging out with Jeff Bezos and lending Bill Gates some money. You know how expensive divorces can be. Haha. Wait. Okay.
Oh, you got a rim shot?
Anywho, DJ Event Planner does it all. It's got great automated emails that will help your sales. And did you know you can send contracts from the beach? You didn't. Well, just ask Mike Walter. That's all he ever seems to want to talk about. We get it, Mike. You like the beach. Thanks for sharing. So if you just crawled from under a rock or woke up from a decades-long coma, or if you live in West Virginia, you may not have heard about this amazing program. I urge you, in fact, I insist that you go to the DJEventPlanner.com right now and sign up for your free 30-day trial. Go ahead. I'll be right here when you get back. I said now, motherfucker. Go sign up.
Very good, Nick. I will take that under advisement next time I read a spot. That was good. That was good.
Oh man, I don't know. I do think it's genius marketing though, because like it's just you talk like what you say is legit, and it's just funny. It's just like a kind of like an infomercial way.
I chose that delivery. I'm not an actor, so when I act, I overact, and that's my most effective delivery. So yeah, I over presented those, and I'm glad you had a good time with it. I'm glad when you're high, they're that funny.
Oh, I was dying. But so I want to go back in history with you. There's a lot of there's no real written history of the wedding DJ as we know it. There's really not. It's hard to find online.
So, no.
Yeah. So, I know you weren't there from the beginning, but I'm hoping, maybe you've talked to people or whatever. How did wedding DJs become a thing? Was there a certain technology that came out? It's okay, now we can be mobile. And then we started competing with bands, cause it used to be all bands, right? So do you know when it became a thing?
I don't know, but my guess is that it was about a decade before I broke into. I started, my first opportunity to MC was in '84, as you said, in the walk-in.
Yep.
But I started doing weddings in '88. And even when I first started, I would show up at a banquet hall with my big hand cart full of equipment, one guy, and they would say to me, "Oh, are you the band?" Because band was synonymous with music at a wedding at that point. So I guess DJs at that point, by the late 80s, we had already made some inroads, but not enough. I mean, it was still probably 80-20, 80% band, 20% DJ at that point. And it was probably over the first 5 or 6 years of me DJing, so late 80s into the early 90s, that we really started getting a lot more market share. And as I've always said from the very, very beginning, we didn't put bands out of business. We put mediocre bands out of business. Because the great band, it used to be if you were having a wedding, your choice was between spend a lot of money on a great band or spend a little bit of money on a mediocre band. So when DJs got in, it became, well, I can spend a lot of money on a great band, or I can spend about the same amount of money on a DJ or a mediocre band. Well, why would I want a mediocre band when I can get a DJ? So I really don't think we put those great orchestras and bands out of business. I don't even think we touch their market share because some people are always going to want live entertainment at their wedding.
Sure.
What we really hurt was that mediocre band that was skating by for decades without even really trying. They were getting the work because they were lower priced, and now all of a sudden we came along.
Yeah, so it was kind of inevitable for them. But was there a piece of technology that came out that you would say, so you say about 10 years, so mid 70s?
I don't know when the Technique 1200 came about. When I started DJing, that was everybody had Technique 1200. So, but I don't know if there was a record player before that DJs were using, but that was the industry standard by the time I started. It was a no-brainer. That didn't even matter what mixer you got. You got 2 Technique 1200s. That was the standard.
You still got your Techniques?
I don't. I sold them years ago. I shouldn't have. I regret selling. I got rid of most of my vinyl and my Techniques. When Kelly and I moved into the house, we had a garage sale just to get rid of, and I got rid of them. I hadn't used, and I regret it to this day. I'd love to have them set up down in the basement and just spin from time to time.
I wish I went to that garage sale. What about what about speakers though? You know what I mean? I guess that because speakers, portable PA systems. I mean, that's got to be part of it too. I guess you guys all use passive.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know initially if there were self-powered speakers or powered speakers. When I started, I had the amplifier and 2 humongous speakers. Remember, you mentioned interaction. Part of the thing we used to do at Star, because we didn't fly our speakers, we had speakers, consoles on the ground. And one of the routines we used to do was to jump up on the speaker So now it was like a little mini stage for us, and do some kind of whether we did shout or maybe grease lightning or something from up on the speaker. So that was the days of that. And I remember being super proud that I could actually make that leap up onto the speaker, because not every DJ could. Some guys needed to have a little boost behind them, but I could do the jump up onto the speaker.
That's funny. Jeff Scott Gold still does that at weddings, just so you know. He still hops right up on that speaker. Just like a little squirrel.
Jeff came from that same school, man. He came from the Star. That was what we did. We did these routines at weddings that made us stand out. And I know you probably look back on them now, and maybe some of them would be cheesy or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for the time, they served their purposes.
Well, you guys revolutionized the industry. Like, so if you guys aren't aware, anybody watching, so Star DJs was a thing. You can tell me when it started, I guess, but it was the biggest company in New Jersey. They grew so fast, and they were the shit. They just took over the entire wedding market. You guys had 50 DJs or something, in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah. When I started in 88 with them, I think I was number 12 on their booking board. By the time, and I was with them 5 years, by the time I left, there were over 50 DJs. So yeah, talk about fast growth. And I was involved in the operations. I was involved in the training and the finding of these DJs. So it was manic. When I look back on it, I mean, I'm lucky nowadays if I can find one brand new DJ a year. Mm-hmm. The fact that we were rolling out, a dozen a year back then, it was incredible. And I tell you, Nick, they were all great quality DJs, and a lot of them are still in the business now.
Literally legends were in there. Jeff Scott Gold, Paul Knox was there working with Jeff Scott Gold. Dan the Man, I heard about.
Bob
R.I.P.
Albrecht, Dan, who's passed
Bob
away.
Albrecht,
So many of the guys. Yeah.
How did you guys find DJs back then? Was it yellow page, like newspaper ads and stuff?
I think they did that, but a lot of it too. They had this very smart deal, and this is how they recruited me. I had gone to Connecticut School of Broadcasting because I was thinking about getting into radio. I had dropped out of college and I was kind of clueless, didn't know what I wanted to do. And they had a deal with Connecticut School of Broadcasting that they came in and kind of gave a presentation, because you got a bunch of people there thinking about getting into radio. So obviously they love music. They're not shy to speak on the microphone. They've got some of the traits that you look for in a recruit. And they did this presentation and they invited us to kind of actually they were smart. They called it an audition. So you came in and they gave you the microphone and your auditions, which was really a cool idea. Everybody got in. I mean, it was kind of a bullshit thing because everybody who showed up. But I remember coming home from that audition, and my mom was super excited. My mom thought this was going to be a great career for me. So she knew more. She knew better than I did. And she's like, what do you think? What do you think? And now I'm 21 years old. I think who the hell I am. I'm riding a motorcycle. I think I'm way cooler than I really was. Yeah. And I go, no, nah, that's not for me. And she goes, why? I go, they do the chicken dance. And that was legitimate. I thought that was the deal breaker for me. I'm like, no, that's beneath me. Meanwhile, I'm some 21-year-old punk kid not doing anything, but doing the chicken. And my mom was the one who encouraged me. She goes, why don't you go back and give it a shot? And I did, and I started liking it. I still to this day don't love doing the chicken dance, but I'll do it if I have to with a gun to my head,
Well, so you heard it, DJs. The chicken dance was even cheesy in 1988.
Yes.
See that?
It was. Yeah.
What did do you remember what you guys charged back then? What were the prices back then as far as for Star DJs?
Yeah, I think we were getting $795 for a wedding, for a 2-person package wedding, which I mean, and we were high end for our market. We were upper, well, I shouldn't say it. We weren't the highest, but we were definitely upper middle compared to a lot of competitors. $795. Yeah. There were no upgrades back then. I don't remember the first time I went out with a light package or anything. There was none of that back then.
Yeah, because the technology wasn't there. And I remember par cans when they came out and you had to let them cool down at the end of the night because they're super hot. You'd
burn a layer of skin off. And you know what there also wasn't back then was ceremony music. I don't ever remember doing a ceremony probably for the first 5 years of my career. I don't think I ever did ceremony music because everybody still got married in a church back then.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly when it started becoming a thing, but certainly at some point in the 90s, it started becoming a thing. Oh, can you do music for the ceremony too? And I remember scrambling to put together these small systems because you didn't need the main system. It was usually in a separate room.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I mean, I don't know what your percentage is, but it's at least 2/3, if not higher.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's almost 100%. Yeah, it's interesting. Like church kind of went the traditions in general. Like traditions die. Like I feel like the only thing that keeps it with all traditions, it's like really very few exceptions. With all traditions, the only thing that keeps these traditions alive are the old people. And when the old people die, so do the traditions. You know, that's why I think weddings are evolving now, where we're going. You know, how many times have you had basically no intros or just like groomsmen, bridesmaids, and that's it? And then like no. When's the last time you did bouquet garter? You know.
Bouquet every once in a while. Garter, very rarely anymore. Very rarely. Yeah. And which is a good thing. I heard somebody describe the garter ceremony as a sexual harassment assault waiting to happen. And it really is kind of true nowadays. I mean, especially nowadays with the Me Too movement and everything else. You get a woman who caught the bouquet and you sit her down in a chair, and more often than not, it's some strange man, some stranger that he's
creepy single uncle
sliding his hands up her skirt. Like, at what point was that acceptable and why? You know,
and we're encouraging it. So like, are we liable at that point? Are we like also going down? Like, this is an easy way for us to cancel ourselves. Wedding DJ was, telling him to go higher because it means good luck. Something. Right. Yeah, it's just insane. Why do you think? So it's crazy though. So 1988 to 1993, right? You were at Star DJs. You guys were charging $795, right, for a 2-man package. Why do DJs still charge that now? Like, why do you think that is?
You know, I think the biggest problem is that DJs sell themselves. And I think most DJs should have a booking agent. And I've talked to photographers for the same reason. And here's why. When you are selling a product or somebody else's service and you hear no, it's a rejection of your sales. But when you're selling yourself and you hear no, it's a rejection of you personally. And psychologically, that can be really hard to handle. So I think a lot of people, and let's face it, you're going to close more sales to lower your price. That's just basic economics. You know what I mean? If you charged $100 to DJ, you'd close probably almost every gig, right? So the lower your price, the less you're going to hear no, which is a rejection of you. So I think it's a lot of it is psychological, that we want to, how many times do you meet a DJ at a convention and he goes, I have 100% closing rate. And you're like, that's not something to be proud of, dude. That means you're
too cheap.
First of all, it's a lie. Probably nobody gets 100%, but it means you're too cheap. You should have a 50 to 60% closing rate. You should be losing a good number of jobs because you're too high priced. But that psychologically can be hard for people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. How did photographers come out of it, though? You know what I mean? Like, their average price is $2,500 last time I checked on the knot.
Yeah, I think it took a couple of market leaders and probably some brave photographers who were willing to hear no a lot to start getting there. But I agree. I mean, we have a photography studio and their prices are way higher than ours. So,
And brides don't blink. They don't blink. Yeah. No problem. If they like your pictures, that's what they want. Their photos are important. That's it. They don't even blink. It's insane. Like, I don't know how undervalued, like DJs undervalue themselves all the time. It literally boggles my mind. I'm like on a mission to change that. I mean, well, and I guess I'm following it. What's his name? Who did that too?
Mark Farrell was
Mark Farrell
and Randy Bartlett. And you know what? Give Randy Bartlett credit because he was early on talking about it. I remember seeing at Elite, we were $9.95 for the longest time, and this is like mid 90s now. And I remember seeing back to back. I saw Randy Bartlett do a seminar and Mark Farrell, and they both talked about over 1,000, 1,200, blah blah blah. And I just had it in my head because I wanted to book volume. That if I was over 1,000, I couldn't book volume. And finally, I said, "Fuck it, I'm changing the prices." And we went up to $1,250, and we didn't lose that many more jobs. So that was our first jump over that, what I consider to be like a red line, and that's 25 years ago. So, but I don't why DJs don't. I don't know.
Do you have like a metric you go by? Like when do you how do you know it's time to raise prices at Elite? You know what I mean?
We keep our prices $100 less than SCE, and that's exactly what we do. So whenever you guys bump up, I'm kidding.
But yeah, is there like a metric? Like it's like, all right, well, we haven't heard no in a while. It's about that time. You know what I mean?
Dominic is more of the driving force. If it was up to Dominic, we'd probably be like twice as what we're charging now. But he is usually the one that pushes me towards Mike. It's time to do this. So it's really just, you dip your foot in the water and you see if a price increase catches, and then you kind of take the full leap,
Yeah, definitely scary stuff.
It is. Yeah.
So you've been basically, I don't know, like maybe the lead speaker, the lead seminar giver. Like you've been like in the education as far as like, DJs and whatnot forever. Like you're the OG. You've spoken at everywhere. Like I was looking at your like credentials, and you spoke at like DJ Expo in like California. When did that? I didn't even know that happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like just all these...
they did that for 2 or 3 years. And when I first reached out to the DJ Times people, they had just started that. They were doing something in San Francisco, and they said, I said, hey, I'd love to do a seminar in Atlantic City. They said, well, why don't you fly out to San Francisco and do one there? And I was so eager to get into the game that I did. I flew out to San Francisco on my own dime, and they basically gave me a show pass, and that was it. And I look back on that now, and that was their way of kind of auditioning me to make sure I didn't shit the bed and, in front of a crowd. And I didn't. And so they gave me the opportunity in Atlantic City. But it's been, I think, over 25 years that I've been speaking.
I was gonna say, so when did you get in? Like, how? Like, did you just one day it's like, you know what, I can do this type of thing?
Yeah,
like,
Nick, I attended a number of DJ expos that DJ Times put on, sitting in the back of the room, and I would just say, hey, there were a number of times where I thought, I know more than that guy. The guy that's up there speaking, I know more than him. And why aren't I up there? And the answer was because I've never tried to be up there. I just, the DJ Times doesn't go, hey, how you want to speak? They wait to somebody present to them, and so I just threw my hat in the ring, and I contacted I think it was Brian O'Connor who I contacted at the time, and I said I'd like to do this, and what do you want to speak about? And I gave him an idea, and they gave me the opportunity.
When was this? Like what year?
I would say it's probably mid to late 90s, 96, 97 probably.
Wow. Yeah, so wow. And because like you trained DJs at Stars for mixing and whatnot and all that, right? So you did, so like you were kind of already comfortable with it. Like, I don't know. I remember you were there in my first seminar. I almost died. I wanted to die.
Well, thank you.
I was so scared.
It's something that I take super, super seriously. When I have the opportunity, like we're both going to be in Chicago next month, and we're both speaking at Marquee. I don't know where you are in your seminar, and I'm not trying to, sell you out if you're not, but my seminar is already done. It's it's every frame, every keynote tile has been built. I've already been rehearsing it. I sat on the beach this morning for an hour running through some notes. So, to me, when somebody like KC gives me the opportunity to speak at their convention, I take it very seriously.
Yeah. No, for sure. So, and when you made the transition, started speaking like back in like the late 90s, like was it, kind of like effortless, or was there any growing pains involved?
No, not at all. There were growing pains just in the fact that it's not anything like doing a gig. I think when I first got into it, and I think a lot of DJs who say, hey, I'd like to do a seminar, I think it's going to be just like doing a gig, but it's not. Mainly because you don't have the music to rely on. At a gig, we speak, and even bridal party introductions, we have a musical bed underneath us. When you do a seminar, it's pretty much you on a high wire with no net. And the first couple of times I did a seminar, it took me a little bit to get used to it. That's right. I'm not just talking in between songs here. I'm doing a whole presentation. Did I freeze up there?
Yeah, for a second, but you're good.
Okay, good. It took a little adjusting, but what I found was I really enjoy it. And I'm also honest enough to admit a big part of it is I have a huge ego that can never be satisfied. And when I do a seminar and I get that line of people that want to tell me how great it was and thank you and can I get a business card, that's very ego gratifying. And I don't deny that.
No, I'm the same way. I completely agree with that. But what did like the landscape look back then? Like when you started doing seminars in the 90s, like what, who was speaking back? Like, were you first out of like, Randy Bartlett and Peter Mary and all like these guys?
Randy
or
Bartlett, I saw Randy before I ever did a seminar. Peter Mary probably right around the same time as me. Mark Farrell, I'm sure a couple years earlier. And then there was also the old guard. I don't know if you know John Roz.
No, who's that?
Yeah, he's a great guy from up in Connecticut, Johnny Roz. But so there was that old guard that was, I guess, kind of like moving out, similar to the way nowadays the old guard like me, and I hope I'm not moving out, but I'm considered now the old guard, while young whippersnappers like you are making their headway into it. So I think that's just a natural progression with as generations move up.
But like, was there really even DJ conferences like for long? Like I know like the Expo started in like '89, but was there anything before that? Like was there like what was?
I know, no. The DJ Expo, DJ Times brought. I think. I mean, maybe somebody can correct me if I have my history wrong, but I think DJ Times did the very first expo for the mobile industry and the DJ industry. I think like NAMM existed, but have you ever been in NAMM?
Yeah, I was there right before Corona hit.
Yeah, I mean, there are elements for our industry, but it's not devoted to our industry. So I think DJ Times they were the first magazine for our industry, and they put on the first expo for our industry.
Wow, so they started, and that was.
And I
89,
don't know when Mobile Beat started. I don't have my history on Mobile Beat. Was a couple years later that the magazine started, and then they also started the convention.
Gotcha. So everything started in AC. I wonder why.
No, I think DJ Times' first one, or first or second, was down in Orlando, because I remember going to a convention in Orlando when I was still with Star, with I think they brought like 25 of their guys down. And it was funny because John and Rick, they were the two owners. They stayed at the Dolphin Hotel, which is where it was on Disney property. And I understand why. For finances, they put us all up because they paid for us to be there. They flew us down and paid for it.
Oh, wow.
They put us all up in a hotel like 10 minutes away. And it was my job, again, because I was the operation guy, every morning to get everybody up. And we had rented 2 vans and get everybody on the van. And a number of years later, I was going through my wardrobe and I was throwing out, when you get rid of old jackets and stuff, you check the pockets and make sure there's no $20 bills in there. And I had a jacket and I pulled it out, and there was the cheat sheet that I used every morning to make sure everybody was on the vans.
No way.
Like the attendance, you know what I mean? Like, oh, is Bobby here? Is Joe here? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy shit, and by that point I'd already left Star. I was at the Elite. And it was a cool memory to come back. Like I remember that week of like rounding all these DJs up, and who was still sleeping because they were fucked up and hungover, and it was a fun week.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was down in Orlando. That probably would have been 91, I guess. I don't know.
Wow. Do you still have that list?
I don't think so. I probably tossed it. I shouldn't have, but I probably tossed it.
See, I'm such a hoarder. I don't know. You're the opposite then. It's crazy. Like I hoard everything. Like I have the attachments to the dumbest things. Like I can't just like give them up. I got this like problem. It's like if there's any type of memory attached to it, like it goes under my bed somewhere, or stashed away.
Have you heard of Marie Kondo?
No, who's that?
She's the organized expert. And Kelly and I Marie Kondo'd our house a number of years ago because we were a little bit like that, especially with my wardrobe. Like I didn't want to get rid of anything. It's going to come back into fashion. Don't get rid of it. And, Marie Kondo, one of her philosophies is if you haven't worn it in a while or whatever, get rid of it. But before you do, you thank it for what it did for you, Yeah, it's kind of a very Zen philosophy, but I'll tell you this, Nick, I am happier in my closets. Like the fact that I can actually look in my closets and they're not crammed with clothes because I didn't want to throw. It's better to have fewer things that you actually cherish than a million things that you don't even know where stuff is.
I guess you're right. I've been throwing away all my bigger stuff, trying to redo my whole wardrobe. But do you remember did you ever wear a cummerbund and the tux back in the day? Did you hold that and have a conversation with it before you let it go? Like, listen,
I think I had already let that go. But there were a number of things that I did the whole, hey, I remember wearing it. I remember buying this shirt. I remember wearing it a couple times. but it's out of style. It's time to go. So yeah, there were a number of those things. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. I still have my wedding tux from when I started. Maybe I'll have a conversation with it.
And you'll never wear it again, right? I mean, unless like maybe a costume party, but that would be the only time you'd ever wear it again, right? Yeah.
Literally. That's too funny. Yeah. But there's not a lot of like written history on you online, right? I Googled the shit out of you, and you have a lot of. Oh yeah, well, but I, just things to talk about, and and
research,
where I wanted to go. Yeah. A lot of research, but the thing is, you have a ton of content online, but it's all like your own content, like because all the things you teach or you talking about this. There's not a lot of history about like Mike Walter online, really. So I want to kind of lay this out. I want to be like the research. Like someone's going to watch this video 20 years from now and know like where one of the legend wedding DJs, like how he started and everything. So you started in a bowling alley, right? 1984. Yeah. They needed an MC. And they said, you know what, Mike? You're always here. You could bowl a mean game. You want to hop on the mic because the DJ was too scared, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, they hired this guy to mix music, but he didn't want to speak on the microphone. And so the owners of the bowling alley said to me, you're always here. We know you're a little bit of a ham and you're not shy. So do you want to do this? And it was I think we called it Friday Night Madness. And it was like a lot of bowling alleys do this now. They, late at night, they bring in the disco lights and the big thing we did was we put one red pin on each lane in each rack. And if the red pin came up as your head pin and you bowled a strike, you won a certain prize. So my job was, hey, we got a red pin down on lane 30 and let's see who's going to bowl. Oh, Joe's going to bowl and nope, he left a 10 pin. Oh, we got a red pin. So I did this for a couple months, basically at I don't know how familiar you are with bowling alleys, but most bowling alleys have like a desk where they give you the shoe exchange thing. But then they also have a gooseneck microphone.
Yeah.
So I did it for the first couple of weeks with that. And we were getting great attendance and things were going well. So the owner said, we're thinking about buying you a cordless microphone. Would you use it? And I was like, I'd never even heard there was such a thing. And I was like, hell yeah. Does that set me free from the So now I had the free reign to run literally up and down the bowling alley. And instead of like pointing to lane 17, I'd run over to lane 17. I'd interview the person before they bowled. Like, okay, you nervous about this? We got a picture of me on the line for you here. And then the other thing we did, and I'm going to admit to this, I'm not super proud of it, but we used to do this thing where we sold raffle tickets, and I think at like midnight, I think we did 10 to 2. So at midnight, we pulled one raffle ticket. That person got to roll a ball. If he got a strike, he got all the money. If not, the money got rolled into next week.
Okay.
So we had a situation where like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, nobody won. And the pot got up to like $1,000. And they would show that in the bowling alley all week long. And so we were getting great attendance. So then we started thinking, so if nobody wins this fucking thing. So for probably about 2 months in a row, and again, I'm not proud of this. I think the statute of limitations says for about 2 months in a row, we would purposely look for the worst bowler and we palm their ticket. And then we'd go, it's ticket number 7. And now the guy who's literally rolling the ball between his legs. And we made sure that, you couldn't guarantee that they weren't going to bowl a strike, but we hedged our bets and
put the bumpers up.
I think that pot got up to about $2,200. And again, this is mid '80s, so that was some real fucking money back then.
You almost buy a car with that, yeah.
And then it got to the point where people were like, watching us so closely that we couldn't palm it anymore. But yeah, that we had some of the best attendance because the real bowlers were showing up going, hey, I'm going to take a shot at this $2,000 prize.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a good couple years there. It was fun. And it taught me the power of my voice and the power of entertaining people with just my voice. But it also taught me, and as a teenager, I'm sure you could relate to this, how attractive you become if you're the center of attention to the opposite sex. And that was pretty cool to me. Like as a 17-year-old kid who was sort of kind of geeky, and now all of a sudden a couple years later he's getting the attention because he's the guy on the microphone. That was kind of cool to me.
Wow. So you caught the bug at that moment. And you did this for
I
a
did.
couple of years. You,
Yeah.
all the girls, huh? You were the ladies'
Couple
man.
of bowling alley groupies, and I was on my way.
Hell yeah. So you did that for a couple of years. So you're like, all right, I like this stuff. So I kind of want to do it. And that's when you ended up going to Connecticut, right? For like the
Yeah, so then I
broadcasting
had dropped
school.
out of college, and I was, I was such a big Howard Stern fan back then, and I was like, I could be the next Howard Stern, and I went to broadcasting
gotcha.
school, but I just never even took a shot at radio because I started at Star right after, and really just kind of pursued the mobile thing as a career.
Yeah. So then you were at Star for 5 years. And then there was Elite Entertainment was already a thing, right? Or
Yeah,
no?
so somebody by the name of Eric Taylor had left Star. I knew him at Star. He had left Star to start Elite.
Okay.
And we had stayed in touch. We were friends. We had stayed in touch. And then things were going really kind of south at Star DJs. They had made some investments. They had put some money into other projects that weren't good. And the fact that I worked in their office, I could see it like, oh, this ship is fucking sinking.
Oh, wow.
And Eric was like, dude, come aboard with me, become my partner. Eric was really good at sales, but not much else. So he wasn't going to be able to build his company. And so he made me a partner, and I joined with him, and we were partners for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And then he was looking to get out of the business. So I bought his half out and became the sole owner.
And that was it. And you brought the same training, everything like
Yeah, I credit a lot of what I did. Now, obviously it's evolved through the years, but I credit a lot of what I did, especially early on, to everything I'd learned at Star,
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just took it over and then just started just molding DJs. Like when did Dominic come? What year did he come?
Dominic was one of the first ones. I found him. Well, God, he just turned 40. So
It was a wedding speech, right? You found him? He was making his toast?
No, you're thinking of some of that. And actually, he's a guy, you're probably going to meet him in Chicago because he's on WGN now. He's a TV personality in Chicago, Pat Tomasulo. And he's one of my proudest discoveries, if you will. I did his brother's wedding, and he did the best man's toast, and he was hilarious and a good looking kid. And he mentioned going to college. He wanted to get into television. He wanted to get into broadcasting. And so literally at the wedding, after his toast, at some point, I saw that he was by himself. I walked up to him and I was like, hey, Pat, do you have a part-time job while you're going through college? And he's like, not really. And I'm like, you could be a DJ. You'd be great. He's like, really? And I gave him my card, and he called me, and we trained him, and he was phenomenal. Only worked for us for a couple of years, because as soon as he graduated college, he literally got a job in TV and has been, but he and I have stayed in touch
so cool.
and been friends through the years. And yeah, from what I understand, he's going to be, I think they're doing comedy one night, and I heard Pat was going to be there. So you might meet him in Chicago.
Oh, he's the one doing that comedy thing, like how to incorporate comedy in. Oh, no kidding. I heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's too cool. Well, how'd you meet? And if the viewers don't know, so Dominic is like your main guy. Like it's like your he does the sales for you, like helps run the company.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Dominic was a classified ad back in the day. Nowadays when I throw the net out, it's on Craigslist or on Facebook jobs. But I mean, back then I used to put this little classified ad in the Asbury Park Press.
Yeah.
And it would be a cattle call of people, and some of them had no potential, and some of them had a little bit of potential. And young men like Dominic walked through my door, and I was like, holy shit, this guy could be great. And he's turned out to have an amazing career.
Did you have a lot of DJs back then? Was it just a handful, like one or two, like Dominic and another guy? Like how did that evolve? Like because you have a lot now.
I think by the time Dominic joined the company, the size of the company has not changed much in the years. We've been at the same 15 to 18 MCs for the last 10 plus years. It's the talent has turned over some. I've lost some DJs. I've gained some DJs. But yeah, we've really, I have found that that's a good number for me. It's manageable. It's, for our price point, we couldn't book many more DJs. So.
Gotcha. Did how does Elite work? Does everybody own their own equipment, or do they use Elite stuff? Like.
They have the option. Most of the DJs own their own gear, but I give them the option. If somebody's starting out and they can't afford to put a sound system together, I'll do it for them. But I find most DJs want to own their own equipment. They're going to get paid more. They take pride in their own gear. They don't have to return it every Monday morning. So there's just a lot of advantages to owning your own equipment. So if you can afford it, most DJs do.
I completely agree with that. And maintenance too, you know what I mean? Knowing how to fix problems, knowing how to, you know what I mean? I used to hate using, at my old company, I used to use like, you know, everyone else's lights and or his lights, and like there'd be something wrong. I didn't know how to fix it. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't know who had these lights last, but they messed them up, you know, that sort of thing.
Right. And by the way, for the business owners out there that might be listening, because I hear some people say this, well, if they own their own gear, they're just going to leave. If you think equipment is stopping talent from staying at your company or leaving your company, you're dead wrong. Like you can't hang a sound system over somebody and expect that they're not gonna leave. You can spend 10 minutes on the internet and put together a sound system. So don't think that that's some kind of like ransom for keeping your guy. You got to treat your DJs well and give them opportunities and everything else. And whether they pay them well, definitely. And whether they own their own equipment or use company owned gear has nothing to do with whether they're going to stay or not.
Completely agree. What couple random things I wanted to know too. What was the biggest tip you ever got at a wedding?
I think the biggest tip I ever got, it was also combined with overtime. And one of the reasons why it stands out for me was that it was so early on in my career and I wasn't making that much money yet, but I did an outdoor, like a wedding in somebody's backyard, which it can always be good because you know they can go as long overtime as they want because they don't have any other expense. And I think we did 3 hours overtime, and I think we were charging $100 an hour at the time. And I remember the guy coming up to me at the end of the night. He's like, "So what do I owe you?" And I was like, $300 for overtime. And he just starts peeling off hundies. And I think he went to 1,000 and gave it to me. So I if I remember, it was like a $300 for overtime and a $700 tip. And I literally, like, my hand, that's probably more than I made in 2 weeks back then. And I'm like, my hand was shaking at the size of the gratuity. So yeah, that's probably and if it's not the biggest, it's definitely the one that stands out the most for me. Because I just remember this guy peeling off hundies from a roll that, like, he gave me 10 and it didn't even make a fucking dent in the roll of hundies that you know. Yeah.
Well, those dudes just carry around 15. All those old school dudes carry around 15 grand in their pocket at all times for no reason.
At all times, right. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Back in those days, like, you know, what was the environment at weddings like when you first started doing weddings in '88 and then going up? Like, did you guys drink at weddings? Wasn't there like smoking in the ballrooms too? Like, didn't everybody just smoke cigarettes back then?
You know, one of the tips that I used to get, and I'm going to talk about this in Chicago too. I mentioned this in my seminar. One of the tips we were taught at Star was when dinner is served, you know, about 15 minutes into dinner, look for the cloud of smoke in the room, because that tells you dinner is over. Because what do people do? They eat and then they light up their cigarette. So
oh my God.
The indication that dinner was over was you could see, and literally you could see the wafts of smoke in the room, and you went, oh, dinner must be over because everybody's lighting up their cigarettes. So yeah, and it's funny, back then I was a smoker. I smoked until my mid 20s. So early on in my DJing career, I was a smoker too. But God,
and you smoke right at the setup? Now. You could just like smoke cigarettes right while you're DJing?
Yeah,
like
I don't remember not. Yeah, I don't remember not. Now, drinking wasn't, I mean, we didn't get fucked up at our gigs, but yeah, I think Star DJs had a don't drink, wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of policy. Like, it wasn't a big deal. But I mean, we frown on it. Like our DJs are forbidden from drinking at a gig.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, but that changed, like, as far as like venues allowing it, you know what I mean? Because I know years and years ago when I first started, and I would like sneak my drinks or something when I was even like, you know, I was 18 doing weddings and like, oh, I'm gonna go vodka, you know, or something like that. No venue cared. Like back then, they did, like, it was never. Then like later on, they started adopting the policy saying like, you know, no vendors can drink no matter what. You're working, that sort of thing. Like,
did you ever work at the Barclay in Belmar?
No.
That was the last place, and they closed a couple of years ago, probably more than a couple, but somebody bought the property and knocked it down, and now there's condos there. But it was the family-owned place, and the guy who owned it, this guy Frank, he would encourage you to have a cocktail. Like you'd go up as the DJ, you'd go up to the bar and go, "Hey, can I have a Diet Coke?" And let me put some rum in that for you. And you'd be like, "No, literally, I don't want any rum in it." Like
you ever work at the Brownstone?
Oh, are they the same way? Yeah.
They literally try and put you down. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I avoid the bar.
The Barclay is the last one that I remember that way down here anyway, you know.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I just think of like early wedding DJs and like in the 80s and 90s, just like this big party, like just these dudes in like tuxedos and bow ties and cummerbunds, just drunk, smoking cigarettes, just playing all the like. I don't know.
I wouldn't say it wasn't that wild, but it certainly wasn't as professional as it is nowadays. I mean, there definitely was that. You know, if you got a beer, hide it back behind the equipment. Like you could drink, but just hide it. I remember walking into a bridal party room to line up the bridal party, and there's lines on the table, and they're like, you want to do a line? I was like, no thanks, appreciate it. You know,
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably 89 or 90 when that happened, you know.
Holy shit. Well, was it all like fire halls and stuff back then, or was there fancy, like when did these, was there always fancy venues?
Oh yeah. The Berkeley Plaza, which still exists, right? I think that's still up in Berkeley Heights. I mean, that was Star DJ's house account to the point where we used to have our monthly meetings there.
Oh wow.
But yeah, the Crystal Plaza in what town is the Crystal Plaza? And yeah, there were a lot of banquet halls and a lot of hotels too. I mean, we did our share of Knights of Columbus and fire halls, but yeah, there were banquet halls back then.
So there was markets for like fancy weddings.
Definitely.
Like there was a market for it. Like they had all the I thought that was. I always thought that was something that came late. Like I thought, like the weddings got gaudy the last like 15 years for some reason.
Well, I would say that there's more banquet halls opening up. I think more people have discovered that there's gold in them our hills. But no, those things existed back then.
Very interesting. You got a mess up story? What was the biggest fuck up you ever had at a wedding? Like one standout, like.
God, I'm drawing a blank, and I don't want to make it seem
like
I'm infallible or anything. But yeah, I can't think of any major thing that I did that was so bad that it was a major fuck up story. I can't.
No.
Huh. Yeah.
You're lucky. Yeah. You're very, very lucky.
Knock wood. Yeah.
I had the worst one ever. I'll send you the video. I talked about it when I was first starting out. I played a metal song during the first dance by accident.
Oh.
It was insane. I listen to metal when I work out. I've always liked like screamo stuff, and the bride and groom had they had a Disney song they wanted to come out to for their intros. The new Mr. Miss whatever. And they came out with a Disney song. Back then, I was just lazy and stupid, whatever. So I didn't have the Disney song. I downloaded it on iTunes on a separate computer, and I was like, oh well, fuck it. I'll just put like an 1/8" jack on that separate computer and play the song that they're coming out to, and then we'll keep it moving. I left the volume channel up. It went to the next song on my iTunes, and in the middle of the first dance, the song was literally like, it starts with this phone call, and it's like, I'm pregnant. No. And it's just this huge breakdown, and it took me like a solid 10 seconds, which felt like an hour to figure out where it was coming from. Like, oh my god. I'm looking, and I finally figured out the channel. It was in a gymnasium too, like there's basketball hoops and whatnot. I think I was like 18 or something. And then the couple was just like, no, it's cool. We thought it was funny. I was mortified.
Well, you were lucky, because some couples that they would want an automatic, like a full refund for something like
I
that.
gave them a refund regardless. I was just mortified, but they were like cool about it. I mean, you couldn't get away with that nowadays. I feel like it was more late. Were there bridezillas back in the day?
Yeah, there's always been bridezillas. That's not a new invention. Yeah.
Really?
I mean, they didn't have the internet to spew their hatred around. So, but yeah, there's always been tougher clients,
Well, did the internet affect that stuff? Because like now they can hop on the Knot or Wedding Wire and like flame you, before that.
I think the only thing the internet has done is given platforms for people. I think there's always been kooky, crazy, super negative people, super, whatever people. I just think the internet has given everybody a platform nowadays. Let's face it, everybody has a platform, and you can choose to use that platform for good or evil. You can spread whatever you want, but now you have a platform.
But like, as a DJ, if there's no way for, let's say like, there's no way for a couple to like affect your business at all, right? Because there's no internet, they'll send in a paper review, but like, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, did that affect what DJs did back then? Like, could you get away with more? Would you be more, would a young Mike Walter in the early 90s be more likely to say like, hey, no, I'm not playing that shit. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like where like nowadays you can like literally they could blast you online. Like, you know what I mean? Like
no,
that didn't affect anything.
I think I've always been afraid of getting a complaint. When I started at Star, they made a huge deal about our reputation, and if anybody got a complaint, we had monthly meetings, and we would talk about that complaint, and John would basically out you if you got a complaint and talk about why, what you did wrong, and don't ever do it again in front of everybody. So, I mean, we all pretty much lived in fear of maintaining that reputation and not getting a complaint. And I mean, I don't take it to that extreme at Elite, but believe me, the rare times we get a complaint, it's a big fucking deal. It is a huge deal. It ruins my day. It ruins the DJ's day. It ruins It ruins my week. And it ruins Kelly's week because she's, she has to hear. So yep. Yeah, I mean, I take these things really, really seriously. Now, the fact that you want to avoid an online bad review has only maybe amplified it, but still back then you still didn't want that. You never wanted that phone call, hey, so-and-so screwed up my wedding. You never wanted that.
Because word of mouth was big back then. That's all you had. Word of mouth and Yellow Pages, right?
I just think you take pride. If you're a performer, you take pride in your performance. Whether anyone's going to complain or not complain or whatever, to me, it's all about just taking pride. And I take pride in my performance. I want to leave an event knowing I rocked the shit out of it. These people couldn't be happier. And whether it leads to a good review and a bunch of referrals or not, that's gravy. I know at the end of the day, I feel good when I've done a great job.
I couldn't agree more. I actually I gotta thank you because my last complaint, I heard you stuck up for me. Janai told me you hit him up and was like, "Yo, go easy on Nick."
Yeah, I saw you talk about it, and you said that they called your office and you got in a little trouble, and I texted because
I'm so mad.
If the listeners don't remember, you basically got a complaint because you were dancing people during the "don't dance them, it's COVID" time period, right? Yeah. And I texted Jason, who is your boss, I guess, or whatever, and I just said, "Man, go easy on Nick," because to me that's a mistake of aggression. Like, you just wanted the party to be good. So while you probably didn't handle it great, I would rather, if I had gotten that phone call about one of my DJs, I'd have been like, "Look, I'm sorry, he didn't handle it right. But let's recognize the fact that at the end of the day, he was trying to do best by the bride and groom, and he was trying to throw the best possible party." It's like the one complaint, and I'm putting that in quotes, that I don't mind getting is the music was too loud. Because to me, that shows like, hey, you know what? We were trying to make something fucking happen. And all right, maybe we rode the volume a little too hard. But if you're going to complain about anything with Elite Entertainment, if you say the music was too loud, I go, sorry about that, but I know it's because my guy was trying too hard, rather than, I'd rather hear that than he didn't do anything to try to get my guests out of their seats. You know what I mean? So that was my only point with Jason. And yes, I was sticking up for you.
I appreciate that. I had a hard time with a couple of weddings because, like, that venue, like the couple of them, they were sugarcoating it to the couple. Like, I would meet with the couple, have our finals, everything, and they're like, yeah, they said it's going to be laid back. Da, da, da. Okay, cool. Did you want to make any announcements? No, we'd rather keep it as normal as possible. Okay, no problem. Then I get there, and to my surprise, it's like, you got to say this before intros. And then you got to say it again, and then, hey, clear the dance floor, stop the music, tell them to do this. And eventually, after I did all that, and I'm feeling so bad because I promised the couple, you know what I mean, that I wouldn't, and I've been doing it. Eventually, I'm like, you know what? No. and I swear to that one girl, she's like the owner's daughter. You remember what venue or whatever. She's like the owner's daughter. I found out later. I had no idea who she was. Right. But that girl has never heard no in her entire life. The look on her face, she looked at me like, and I'm like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. And she's just like, did you sign the paper? And she's like bugging. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not doing it. Sorry. I kept it moving. Oh my God, it's been weird ever since. I think I made it up to him a little bit. I was there a couple weeks ago, and I was, batting my eyes.
And as I pointed out during that whole thing, our industry had the toughest job to do because nobody was asking the photographers to take shittier pictures. Exactly. Nobody asked the chef to make a less tasty meal. But we've honed our skills to pack dance floors our entire lives. My entire professional life has been thinking about how can I get more people on the dance floor.
It's in our DNA.
All of a sudden, exactly. And then all of a sudden I was being told, don't get so many people on the dance floor, or don't get any people on the dance floor. And that's really fucking hard, man. When you've been trained to go this direction your whole life, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, go this direction. It's tough.
Exactly. It was tough.
Yeah.
It's all over now, though. I mean, have you, everything's been pretty normal for you, right? At your wedding?
Dance floors are reopened. I think technically people are supposed to be masked while they're dancing, but
True.
Let's just say it hasn't been as enforced as vigorously. Let's just
Absolutely
say that.
not.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite venue? Just wondering.
It's really hard for me to say. I have favorite venues. I don't think I could say one. I mean, I had my 40th birthday party at the English Manor. So if that says anything about how I feel about that place, I love the Crystal Point. I love Clark's Landing. It's not as close for us, but I love the Palace. We play at the Palace on Sunday. I love the people at the Palace. I got a funny story at the Palace. I know the general manager well. He and I go out for beers every once in a while. And I was socializing with him a couple years ago, and I complimented one of his maitre d's. I had just worked with him. I had just done a gig, and I complimented him. And I said, hey, man, just so you know, this guy is on it. He's sharp. He's this, he's that. So then I was there a couple weeks later, and I was working with a different maitre d', and he came up to me during cocktail hour with like a plate of hors d'oeuvres. He's like, hey, Mike, I want to make sure you get these hors d'oeuvres. And I was like, oh, thank you. That's really nice of you. And he goes, well, I want to make sure you sing my praises to Mark like you did about David last. So apparently the general manager talked about that publicly in a meeting. He was like, and Mike Walter said David does a great job and blah, blah, blah. So now this other maitre d' was like, well, I want to make sure you say nice things about me too when next time you talk to Mark. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That's funny. That's a good tip though. You know what I mean, man?
Yeah.
If you're friendly with a general manager, you see something good, point it out, because then they're going to...
I didn't think, hey, it's going to get back to this guy. I just said I wanted to compliment. To me, when people call me and say, hey, I worked with, Dominic Sestito or whoever, and say he did a great job and he did, I love hearing that kind of thing. That's just, it tells me that my brand is being represented well and everything else. So I love hearing it as an owner or as a manager. So I figure everyone else must, right?
Well, on the opposite side, have you ever had to fire a DJ? Literally
Of course. Yeah.
But did they finish out their events? How did that work?
I had one guy a number of years ago who I realized in early October that I needed to fire him, but we were so busy in October that I had to wait it out. I had to bite my tongue basically until the end of that month because I couldn't reassign his gig. I could reassign the gigs after October, but I was hamstrung for his event. So I had to basically let him finish out those 3 or 4 gigs, and then I let him go.
No, I mean, why'd you want to fire him?
His customer service was deplorable. And he got into this habit of he would make appointments at our office and then forget about them and not show up. Oh, so now we have a client, and he lived up in Woodbridge. So it's not like he was 10 minutes away where I could go, dude, your clients are here. Fuck, I'll be right there. Your clients are here. Well, if I hop in the car now, I'm 45 minutes away. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it happened numerous times to the point where I got sick and tired of saying, this is your last chance. And so I had to let him go. And he was a quality DJ too. But to me, we preach customer service. And if you can't provide it, I can't represent you anymore.
Well, and if you're, late to a meeting, I mean, and who's to say you're not going to be late to a wedding one day? My God.
Right.
Could you imagine?
Right.
You ever have a DJ be late to a wedding?
Define late. We've had cut it close, missed the first 10 minutes of cocktail hour kind of late. But those types of situations. I'll never forget one time. This isn't my screw up, so it didn't come to mind when you asked me about it. But probably the worst I ever had it was I had one of those super tight doubles. So I was ending at 5 o'clock here and I was starting at 6 o'clock here. So I had a music mixer setting up gear for me at the second gig, which is the only way to do a tight double. So I break down my gear from gig number 1. I drive to gig number 2. I get there 10 minutes for a cocktail hour is supposed to start. I walk in and, oh my God, the DJ's finally here. And I was like, what do you mean? My guy's here. No, he never fucking showed up. So now,
so you're not even set up.
I'm not even set up. In 10 minutes, and cocktail hour was in the same room. So in 10 minutes, I have to put my system together. I probably started cocktail hour maybe 10 minutes late, but I wasn't that. But yeah, that was the worst. As far as DJing, that was the worst moment I've ever had. Like when I heard he wasn't there, and then I walk in and sure as shit, there's no DJ there, and I gotta load my system in, set it up. And this was before, I think it was even before cell phones were rampant. Because I remember paging him, where the fuck were you? You know what I mean? And he had some lame ass excuse, and yeah, fired him obviously too.
I was to say he would have been dead to me.
Oh, dead. Yeah.
That's another thing. Technology. Did you use like maps to get to places back in the day? Like you literally like.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah. Maps, or you'd call the banquet hall like on the third. Hey, can you give me directions to your facility? And you'd write them down. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. Like when I first started in 2005, we printed out MapQuests.
Right.
So we had that at least, and it wasn't like too bad. But and then we went to like GPS. But I couldn't imagine using a map to get somewhere. Yeah. And it took longer to set up, so you had to get there super early.
And we used to do in-home appointments back then too. So not only did you need maps to get to the banquet hall, but like I needed a map sometimes to find, 72 Main Street in Howell or something like that.
Weird.
Yeah.
Why in-home? Why not like in a coffee shop or something?
When I started with Elite, we were really running the business out of Eric's house, and we didn't really have much office space, and Starbucks really wasn't a thing back then. So we offered this, hey, we'll come to your house. I remember I had a briefcase I had a VHS tape of like my demo tape in it. So I would come to your house and I'd sit on your couch and we'd pop my VHS tape into your TV and we'd watch my demo. Yeah.
Wow, talk about a personal experience.
Yeah. You know what? My closing rate was pretty high when it came to that, because there is that cool kind of bonding thing when you're sitting in somebody's living room and they're offering you a glass of wine and you're shooting the shit with them. And then, it's not practical because, well, even forget about Corona. It's not practical just because it was basically meant one appointment a night. You really couldn't show multiple appointments unless you got lucky and, you had two in Middletown or something like that. So it wasn't really practical, but it was really good service.
Yeah. You ever like walk into somebody's house and see some shit like, oh, these people are weird. I don't even want to do their wedding. Like, you know what I mean? Like some.
No, but I remember getting to a house once and the bride to be was there and the groom was running a little late. And she was smoking fucking hot. And I was like, this is the beginning of a porn. It didn't turn out that way, but I was like, this is the beginning of a porn.
You're like the pizza guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's got to be awkward. You're just sitting there alone with her like, all right, when's he getting home? You don't even want to drink the iced tea.
Right.
That's crazy. So you were around where you were doing or basically meetings at people's houses, smoking in venues, cloud of smoke, nose dinners ready, time to get them popping. What did you guys start with too? Like back in the day, like what was like when you first like started learning like star DJs? Like what was like the go-to like start? Like was it like big band shit?
No, Run Around Sue was the opening song back then. Yeah, and but I'll tell you this, Nick, we used to do this fucking cheesy ass intro. We'd walk out and we'd find we'd welcome ourselves. I'm trying to see if I remember this whole rap. And we'd find like the grandmother or some old lady, and we'd say, didn't we go to high school together? So that was like the joke.
Yeah, right.
And then you'd go, yeah, I remember you. Your name is Sue, right? And we would start Run Around Sue from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Here's my story. It's sad, but true, something like that. And that was a cheesy fucking. But that was like an icebreaker.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. I wish I could be a fly on the wall.
We had another one where I didn't do this one too often, but I know a couple of the guys at Star used to do this. We like later in the night, we would say we'd stop the music and we'd say, I just got to tell everybody, I'm so upset. I got pulled over on the way here. I got pulled over and the cop was harassing me and he was blah, blah, blah. And you do this whole build up and I looked at the cop and I said, you make me so mad. You know what I want to do? And then your mixer would go, you make me want to shout. And you'd go into shout.
Stop it.
It was super fucking cheesy. Yeah. When I looked at that cop and I said, I'm so mad. You know what I want to do? You make me want. Yeah, it was like that. That was a cheesy one.
That is fantastic. And you, like, all the listeners at home, you got to picture it. These guys are in sequined vests. You know what I mean? The whole 90s get up. You had a mullet back there then, didn't you? You had long hair till
I did
for a little while.
Yeah.
You had a mullet, and you know mullets are back in style.
A mullet was required at Star. You literally had to have a mullet, or I think you got moved down. If you cut your hair, you got moved down in the booking order. You literally did. Yeah,
that's so funny.
Did. Yeah,
it's funny. I have an assistant I bring with like bigger production jobs and stuff, like a third assistant, not my main, not Santi, but like my third guy. His name's Corey. He's 19 and he's got a mullet, a straight up mullet, and it's back in style now. The kid's in style. It's crazy. The cycle.
Listen, Mohawks came back for a while. Mohawks were a big thing in the 70s, and then they were out, and then they were kind of back in. You know, some people wear them still, but yeah.
I mean,
there's
style's
only so
cyclical.
much you can do with hair. You know, yeah.
That's true. And you hung on to yours. I'm any tips for me? Because that's like worst
55. Fear. I have no idea.
Killing it.
It's really luck. And I don't. People say I diet all the time, and I don't. If I dieted, I would admit it, but I don't. I don't diet. I'm lucky.
It's crazy. It's something about being a wedding DJ for a living. Like you, Jeff Scott Gold, Paul, not like all you guys like look way younger than like you know what I mean. Like it's insane. I think it's something to do with the job, and I'm hoping it trickles down to me.
It might. I mean, I think it's a great way to stay youthful, if not young looking, at least youthful. I mean, how many other 55-year-olds go to parties every weekend? Not a lot. I mean, most of my contemporaries have retired to the couch of doom, and they're lucky if they make 10 o'clock every night. And, and I think this job has helped keep me youthful.
Yeah. I hope I don't go bald. I got a crooked head. I was like a C-section baby, and it was messed up.
I have no idea what the head's ever going to look like. So if I ever do have to shave it, and I'm sure someday, it's receding, but it's still there. So I don't know. I don't know whether I got a nice looking dome up there, or whether it's all nubby, or I have no idea. We'll see someday.
I found out at a young age I lost a bet on the Phillies, of course. When I was in high school, I was 18, and I had to bick my head. So I shaved it, and then I got a razor, and I bicked it. And I'll never forget, my brother was like 14 at the time. He's 4 years younger than me, and I shaved my head, and he looked behind me. He was like, oh, my God, bro. And I have a mole factory on the back of my head. When I say moles, I'm talking like penny-sized moles. There's like 6 of them on the back of my head. I had the ugliest head on earth. Like I could never pull off like an Alex Nepa or a Tony T Netto or whatever. I could never he pulled a mirror and he was just calling me Molly for like, oh my God. I would be
since you brought up sports and your Phillies, did I hear you want to go to Dallas for the Eagles game?
Yeah, actually Nate hit me up and I said I'm in. I checked my schedule. I have a wedding Saturday that Sunday, so I'll fly in Monday morning. But I have
to do the same thing. So you want to book the same flight?
Oh, let's go. I'm definitely
down. Have you been to the Dallas Stadium, the new? It's fucking amazing, dude.
I heard it's
incredible.
Crazy. Yeah. Going to enemy territory. I don't know.
I'll tell you this. We do not, and when I say we, I mean Cowboy fans do not treat Eagle fans as poorly as Eagle fans treat Cowboy fans. I'll just put it that way.
I remember being
you can wear your colors if you want, and you'll get harassed, but you're not going to get like violently beaten up in the men's room.
I'm going to be talking so much shit too, so I'll definitely get harassed, but I'll be ready for it. I'll paint my face green. I'm going to be freaking out. But I'll never forget being a kid at a Eagles-Cowboys game and seeing the, sitting down and seeing the bottles come across my head at like a Cowboys fan down there, like literally where they used to have glass bottles at the game.
Yeah.
Bottles flying at a Cowboys fan because we were losing or whatever. I'm like, oh my God. Can't get away with that shit now. It used to be
Nick,
brutal.
My first wife was a district attorney in Philadelphia. And
did you win any arguments ever? Like, did you ever win an argument?
Never.
Like,
no, lawyers know exactly how to get you into that. And she used to. They would rotate Sundays because in the old vet stadium, I don't know if they still do it at the Link. They literally had a judge and a DA in the stadium because they had so many arrests that they just prosecuted people right away. And so I think 2 or 3 times every football season, she would go, oh yeah, this is my Sunday at the vet. And she would have to be at the vet during the football game. and she'd probably hear like 12 or 15, just like assault cases or this cases or whatever. So that's how much violence there is. That's why whenever I hear the city of brotherly love, I'm like, fuck you. There's nothing brotherly or lovely about
Absolutely
that city.
not. Where did that come from?
It's sarcasm. It's got to be sarcasm.
That's insane. But yeah, you're a Cowboys fan and you're a Mets fan. And I gotta admit, you're loyal. I mean, if I was a Mets fan, I probably would have jumped ship.
You cannot call me a Johnny come lately. That's for shit sure, man. We haven't won anything in a long, long time, man. Either team.
It's insane. Well, Cowboys though, like, is that why you became a Cowboys fan? Because they won and shit. Like, why?
I think so. I became a Cowboy fan in the '70s, much to my dad's dismay, because he was a Giants fan. But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact the Giants were horrible. So I used to watch my dad suffer every week. And the Cowboys were always on Monday Night Football. And they had the sexy cheerleaders, and they were in a couple of Super Bowls. And yeah, I just became a Cowboys fan by the time I was like 12, and I've hung with them,
Yeah. That's good. At least you're loyal. Yeah. That's what I'm all about. I respect
You're gonna love that stadium, the AT&T Stadium in Dallas. I hope we can make this trip happen. I told
excited.
Nate to get me a ticket. So
I told him too. I'm in. So like we're doing it. So for sure.
Yeah.
I will be there. I'm gonna fly in one day. I think I'll stay like 2 nights. That's it.
I was asking Glenn. I was texting Glenn, and I said, if I stay until Wednesday, is there something like I just don't want to be sitting in a hotel room by myself on Tuesday? But yeah, he said we'll come up with something to do. So I'll probably do the same thing. Fly in Monday morning, fly home Wednesday.
All right, cool. Yeah, cool. Let me know about the flights. We'll book the flights.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take too much of your time, though. I appreciate you coming on and everything. I know it's your day off. Anything you want to plug? I mean, if you guys haven't heard, he's got the podcast with Joe Bunn. I actually have, if you guys look in the description of this video on YouTube, I have like your website and everything in there. If you guys just want to check out, you wrote a couple books and have a couple products, which I got to say, by the way, not to whatever, I always looked up to you, man. Right? I've known about you a long time. And,
here comes the big butt. But
and no buts. Like and you've motivated me a lot. You're one of the few people. You came out with that the one How to Train Your Next Greatest DJ, right? Like over 10 years ago, like so long ago. I was just out of college. It was a while. I was in college. So it was a while back. And that is, a lot of people would consider that sauce, right? DJs have a habit because of our egos. We hold shit back, right? We like a lot of DJs. I don't want like nobody to know what I play or what I do because people are going to steal it. And then I'm going to lose all this fucking business. And I've always been against that. And I think it stemmed from you because like I would, see what you're doing and look at your products. I'm like, look, Mike Walter, his claim to fame is how this guy can train DJs, how he's developed his team, how he runs this huge multi-op, one of the biggest multi-ops in the world. All this stuff. Like that's your claim, that's your sauce, that's your claim to fame, that's your secret. And you put it out there so long ago, literally giving away your secrets of like how you train your guys, how you do everything. And I don't know, I just feel like it took balls, man. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't give it away. I sold it. So let's start. But I did.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, was there any fear in that? Like, did it ever occur? Like, did you have anybody in your ear saying, like, "Bro, why would you put that out there?"
Yeah, yes, I did have plenty of people in my ear saying, "Dude, you're revealing too much." Even when I do seminars, I've had people say to me, "Why do you want to teach other people? You got some close competitors and everything else." I've never had that fear. I'm confident in what Elite Entertainment does, and I'm confident in the market that we have and everything else, and everything else. Like I said, I love this industry. If I can help others out in the industry, it's a great way for me to give back. It does also go back to the ego thing. I like the fact that I can't walk around a DJ convention without being stopped by a bunch of people who want to chat and everything. So it's just all around. I'm happy I've done it through the years.
Well, I'm gonna start the Wedding DJ Hall of Fame one day, and then I'll hit you up with the official letter. We'll get you in there. You make a nice speech, everything. It's gonna be It's gonna be a thing, legend. But anything you want to plug, while you're here?
Well, if any of your listeners are not familiar with me, head to djmikewalter.com. Some of the products that Nick was just speaking about are up there, and you can buy the book that I wrote 10 years ago now called Running Your Multi-Op, or check out the video I put out, The Keys to a Great DJ and MC Performance. Any of those, but check them out. Yeah, and listen to the PhDJ podcast every week for 4.5 years now, dude. It's amazing. Chilling.
Wow, has it been that long?
Yeah.
You guys are like 230 deep or something like that episodes, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, and he also has a product. I forget what it's called, but literally, it's a wedding with Mike Walter, right? And it's an uncut footage of you doing a wedding, which I got my popcorn one night, and I had a great old time watching. I was like, oh man, I picked up a lot of tips too. Like, it's very, very useful. It's insane. It's like literally like you're standing next to him, and he's like narrating. This is why I did this. This is why I did that. And it's not like the greatest crowd ever too. It's about, like, I would say, you know what I mean? Like, it was like you had to work for it. You know what I mean?
I didn't want to put out. I recorded a number when I was working on that project. I recorded a number of different weddings that way, and I chose that one because it was a good party, but it wasn't a great party, and I felt like, I could throw out a gig with the greatest dancing crowd ever, one of those crowds where you just throw anything out there, but who's going to learn from that? So I chose something where I think you can see me work, if you will.
Yeah. Picked up a lot of stuff, so definitely check that out, DJs, if you haven't already. And yeah, thanks again for coming on, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Mike Walter, everybody, round of applause. And I'll see you guys next week. Every week we do this 12 p.m. Eastern time, and then I'll be on Twitch acting a fool as well later on. So definitely catch me there. I appreciate you all. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Peace out.